Oh.
And hi, Dr. Colin. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. What's today? Monday. So, off to a great week. It's like, how you start every week, just trying to figure out what do I got to get done this week. And
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to the show. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Yvonne. I am the host of VeganPopEats, where we are changing the perception of veganism through conversation, cuisine, and conscious living. And we are talking to Dr. Colin Zhu. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And he is a double certified lifestyle medicine doctor. What does that mean?
Lifestyle medicine is using evidence-based lifestyle. So you're talking about, diet, movement, sleep, hydration, avoiding risky behaviors, self-care, stress management, and quality relationships. So it's taking the pillars of health and using it backed by so much, science evidence over the years, mountain loads of it, and it's a whole profession. There's a whole board certification process to it, and it's really at the end of the day, the core root is instilling and reinforcing positive behavior changes.
So what we always like to do at the beginning of every show is talk about your journey into this lifestyle, because not everyone's journey is the same, and people need to understand how you get to this point, because a lot of people feel like, oh, you just immediately jump out the window, but there's baby steps. So tell us why you decided, one, to operate in this space, and two, your journey to plant-based.
Well, I definitely encourage jumping out a window with a parachute. So basically my story started with my mother. She's a traditional Chinese medical doctor.
I saw that.
Yeah, she's still practicing, getting close to 45 years of practice. And she taught me, integrity, authenticity, and treating people with compassion. And so my world I didn't come from a long line of MDs. My world was really growing up on preventative care, holism, optimizing your overall wellness before, things hit the fan, right? So,
right.
In America, just to kind of give you a better sense, in our current healthcare system, we kind of work in a very reactive manner, when things already happen and manifest, and then, you go and, do something about it, right? Whether you're writing a prescription, referring, surgery, things like that. And lifestyle medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, modalities, these are more proactive approaches, preventing things before they manifest. And so the best way I can describe it for people is like, imagine your body like a car, and we have cars all of our lives, right? You drive it, you sell it, you lease it, you rent it, you buy it back, et cetera, et cetera. So imagine your whole body just being one car. And if I tell you only have one car for the rest of your life, what would you do to maintain it? Right? And I feel that most people maintain their cars better than they do their own health. I mean, Angela, you wouldn't believe how many people, come to me sick, for example. And then I asked them, when was the last time you have seen your primary care physician, or a last time you had a checkup? And usually they'll say 3 years plus, And so a lot of times, we just don't go to the doctor because we feel like nothing is wrong. So long story short, I went to medical school and then realized that I didn't have enough education in terms of diet, lifestyle, nutrition. And then I went into culinary school. I got my health coaching certification. And then I took all this stuff and then, I just basically enhanced my career from it.
So I'm glad that you touched on that, because in New York, I don't know if you've heard of this, but our Mayor Adams, gave money towards assisting doctors to get the education that they need as far as operating in the plant-based space, vegan space. Why do you think that is not a focus? Because when you say your mother is still practicing Chinese medicine, that is very heavy on knowing that plants are medicinal, and your culture has been like, one of the top cultures who still to this day operate in this space. The education system doesn't see the value in that when it's passed down through generations, and it has been proven that plants are medicinal.
Yeah, that's that'll take a lot longer than the scope of this. So, number one, I've met Mayor Adams. I met him before he became mayor, and the organization that you're referring to is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I've been with that professional college for more than a decade now, and I'm actually one of the board of directors.
Wow.
And so I know what you're talking about really, really intimately. And so, to answer your question, in medical school, I don't know exactly why that is. And, I think there's a lot of deeper, powers that be. I'm not sure, the kind of sway one way or another, but a lot of medical school training focuses a lot on how disease manifests and how drugs work. That's literally the brunt of medical school. Very, very little is dedicated towards, nutrition. And so when I came out, I didn't want to learn just about nutrition. I wanted to learn about where food came from, how it's sourced, what is our agriculture like, how are things plated together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you don't have a system that prioritizes that, then it produces graduates who are not as confident. And that shows in surveys, that shows in studies. Less than a quarter of all medical schools require a nutritional, class or curricula. But, me and, the professional college that I mentioned, we are making a lot of strides.
Yeah.
We're putting in a lot of work to change this dynamic. Okay. So the narrative is going to be more proactive, educating and empowering our professionals in training and graduates, and so they can be better equipped when they graduate and not be where I was, which in hindsight is a blessing in disguise, or else I wouldn't have taken so many detours, but we need that, we need that for all of our graduates and not just physicians, because chronic disease is a very multidisciplinary team approach. Like diabetes, for example, you need a doctor, you need a nurse, you need an educator, you need a dietitian, the list goes on, right? And so we need to do so much, so.
But when you bring up diabetes, because a lot of the African-American, community has an issue with that. Like it's in my family. Recently my aunt has died from diabetes, and there's just different things. But sometimes it's just as simple as, the uptake of, vegetables and things of that nature versus all of the man-made foods that we are ingesting. Do you think that once this becomes a more of a what's the word I'm looking for? More of a importance in the education with the doctors, do you think that will sort of scare the medicine industry? Because if we knew more, like say for instance, if we knew more about Chinese medicine, a lot of the things that with the herbs and things that you're well knowledgeable could probably take the place of a lot of the medicines that the doctors are prescribing. Do you think that that's going to be a problem?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I think, being that America is a capitalistic society, the reason why preventative is, not really focused on is quite honestly, no one makes money from it, right? And so, this is the reason why the supplement industry is $1 billion industry, right? And as of right now, there's no FDA regulation, there's no oversight with this. Whether things will work is a whole nother conversation. But, no one makes money from people being well. No one makes money from people living their best, healthiest, life, right? If people, I personally think that, we're profiting off of disease, and that's why the system is geared towards a sick care. There's no incentive for citizens to be well, right? But if you are a individual company and you have, let's just say hundreds and thousands of employees, it actually is to be in your best interest. And it's actually backed by studies where, corporate wellness, if your employee is sick and chronically sick, you would save a lot more money in terms of healthcare dollars, ER visits, prescriptions, days asked off, productivity loss, there is a lot of incentive, for, just for example, using corporate wellness as an example, right? And then the list goes on. In terms of to comment about, what you're talking about in terms of the Black American African community and diabetes, I think there's a lot of things to tease out from that. Number one, food access, health disparities, social inequalities, right?
Yeah.
I think that people of color are just at, like all things, just at a disadvantage because of that. If you look back into the history, health communities, white counterparts and people of color counterparts, they're where they're situated in terms of, just a good neighborhood, a quality market, that's not by chance, and that's happened over time. There's so many things to tease out, from that. Doctors being educated, yeah, that's one component. Is it going to solve everything? No. I think that's one component, educating our medical students, all of our healthcare professionals, our current doctors. I think the education needs to start as early as public education in terms of, grade school, right? Bringing back home ec, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
As much as music and recess and physical education is important, right? I think learning how to cook is a life skill. It's not a skill of luxury. It's a life skill. And that's what I try to teach, towards the general public, for my healthcare professionals. It's everything. It needs to happen on a federal level, on a public policy level, more and more. I know that, like Mayor Adams, people like Senator Cory Booker, they're trying to fight for more health and food advocacy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So there's many levels to your question, you know what I'm saying? But yes, education, empowering people is one of the most powerful forms of medicine you can do.
So your specialty is showing how a plant-powered lifestyle can enhance emotional wellness and thriving in this space. Why did you choose that specific specialty? And what is your demographics for the people who come to you? Because I would think that your specialty is needed in the communities that aren't accessible to those different things.
Yeah, so basically I'm trained in family practice or general medicine first. And so for those of you who don't know this, we're one of the 3 primary care physicians. We take care and are trained in, from delivering babies to advanced age and everyone in between. So my work has always been from the beginning, meeting people where they're at, right? Meeting people all over the spectrum and not really forcing people, it's really meeting them where they're at. And, it's easy. My work is just 3 words: eat more plants.
Right.
Because I think no matter where you fall in the spectrum, we can all benefit, not just individual health, but also, environmentally as well, and community as well, and it creates a ripple effect. When I came out and created the TheChefDoc in 2017, the reason for that was because when I was seeing patients one-on-one, under the system of a healthcare system, under the auspices of it, I found it to be very ineffective and inefficient. And so creating a platform was really meant to reach as many people as possible, and to kind of give them education and tools for people that I just normally wouldn't cross paths with. And then serendipitously and organically, and sometimes by accident, I wrote a book, hosted a podcast, and then created a lot of content for educational purposes. And our latest iteration is an app. And so the point of it is really, for my focus, I like to focus on the younger generation. So from anywhere from like 20s to 50s, early 60s, because at the end of the day, prevention also needs time,
Yes.
kind of like good food needs time, right? Good health, and health is wealth. Good health needs time, because we're in a society of quick fixes and conveniences. Everything is fast. Everything is push of a button, and health is not like that. The body gets sick. The body heals at its own pace. And so, a lot of it is not understanding that the body has an immense, beautiful capacity to heal itself. But a lot of times, majority of times, we just get in its way. But lifestyle medicine, teaching food as medicine, education, learning all this stuff, this takes time. This takes time to learn, to acquire the information. And then it also takes time to implement and to create a routine and practice and lifestyle, so you can just, over time, not be so weathered, by, let's just say you come to in an impulse aisle, like the cashier aisle, and then you're tempted. Once you get to a healthy state, that's not going to be as much of a dramatic effect as opposed to someone that's already fighting heart disease and cancer, right, and they're just adding literally inflammation to the bucket. You know what I'm saying? So it just takes time. And that's what I try to teach, is arming them of awareness, educating them, and then letting them know, like, hey, you could either feed yourself to disease or feed yourself to health. It's really up to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed. I didn't know you was going to give us a word today.
You didn't look up who I was? I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know who you are. But that was a word, because wanting people to understand crossing over to the plant-based, vegan, vegetarian lifestyles. Everyone has different names of it to fit their comfortability. It's sort of weird to me that you get so much pushback when you're telling people to eat vegetables and fruits for them to live longer, to operate longer, and things of that nature. They can give you every excuse in the book, as in, oh, I could never do that, or I don't feel like I can. Yeah. But they don't have that same kind of, I guess, aggressiveness or passion when you tell them that meat is killing them.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't matter whether, you're saying the World Health Organization is, classifying red meat and processed meat as type 1 and type 2 carcinogens. Like, it's just, it doesn't hit home. So the way I do things is really, you got to speak someone's language, right? Yes. And so, the way I've created so number one, I'm a physician entrepreneur, and part of my entrepreneurship is really creating things, right, for people, and it helps me to express myself. And so part of that is really talking to people in a way that they understand and resonates with them. And so, some people resonate with stats, and data. Other people don't, you know what I'm saying? Other people are more resonating with what hits home for them. Maybe it's family, maybe it's, you know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to, that's the art of medicine. That's the finesse, that you have to go as a educator, and so, yeah, it's challenging at times, but at sometimes, you also have to be able to see clearly, where are people in their stages of readiness for change, right? Maybe they just, I have a lot of patients that say, hey, doc, just give me the prescription, just give me the referral, and that's it, I kind of think that, so,
you have patients who don't even want to hear about the possible.
Oh, yeah, plenty.
Really?
Yeah.
So they would rather so if you were to say, oh, you have to take 4 or 5 medicines for the rest of your life, they would just rather for you just to give them the prescription versus you saying, you know what, if you ate carrots or zucchini, you would come off of this. Exactly.
And the reason why is kind of similar. A good example would be, the pandemic and telling people to wear a mask, right?
Right.
And so in a weird way, wearing a mask is kind of like wearing a scarf, right? You don't question wearing a scarf. You don't question wearing a seatbelt, right? You don't question wearing just wearing pants, right? But literally a mask is just a piece of fabric or whatever, but to people, it in a way, it kind of takes away their freedom or liberty in some level, right? Just with the issue with gun control, just the issue with, so many different things. So in a way, food is so many different meanings. Food is, unfortunately very political, and so, having someone to ask them to do something else beyond, changing what they had came in with in terms of a lifestyle, in a way, it's almost like, having them giving up something of themselves, maybe their arm or a kidney, it's something very dramatic and it hits home for them for whatever reason, but it just does, but to me, it's kind of like you can't quote unquote save everyone. You can't help everyone. You got to be able to divert your energies towards people that really want to be helped, are curious, want to, want to get better, don't have the resources,
Right.
and, want to change, and just be okay with people who don't, and just accept and acknowledge their agency in terms of, if they believe that this is what they want to do with their lives, then let them choose. Everyone has their own right to do that. So
with the rise of, I guess, herbologists, and again, I'll say Chinese medicine. I won't say there's a rise in Chinese medicine, because the people who know, and the people who don't. But I'm starting to notice that there are a lot of people who are starting to be more aware of how herbs can help you. Do you think that that's also causing a sort of like a fear with people trusting what the doctors will be able to do for them? Because, like, for instance, like with diabetes, or even with like hormones, or even with just different things that people say that is like normal for, I guess, the human body, or things of that nature. There are herbologists, and there are people who deal with plants being medicinal. They are sort of, making what the medicine's coming back void, if that's the proper way to say it. Do you think that that's going to cause fear with people trusting what the doctor's having to say, knowing that there are statistics that are coming out saying that, the reason why the doctors are pushing this is because, that's for their pockets, or this is the reason why, they're pushing dairy, knowing that that's what you say, carcinogen. Did I say that right?
Carcinogens, yes.
Do you think that it's going to come a time where people are not going to trust what the doctors have to say, especially when, we have people who are very knowledgeable, like your mom and just different people like that?
I don't think there's a start. I think it's been going on for some time. I've read this survey a very long time ago, but 2/3 of patients, that already, by the time they've already approached their primary care physician, 2/3 of the patients have already sought an alternative or a complementary type of modality before they've already sought the primary care physician. And this is something that I've read many years ago. And, I'm sure that number is way higher now. But my point of this is that patients are, with the advent of internet, social media, their ability to access information has been exponential, since like the 90s, right? And so, they are coming in a little bit more savvy, right? Not,
it should be good.
Which is good, right? But I do, recommend, that, a Google search will never replace a medical degree. Yeah, will never replace a medical degree. And if it were easy, then everyone would just do it, right? So my point is that, a lot of people just want something different, right? Because, people understand that conventional medicine has its limits. And they want to, feel a way that they can feel more empowered in their own life. And what I mean by this is that, not feel like the disease is taking over their life and they have no control, and that they have to be subjugated to just a pill, thinking like, okay, if I'm just going to take a pill or go through the surgery, that's all there is. And so a lot of patients are looking for options, and looking for different options, and they're looking for healthier options, right? Conventional medicine is not going anywhere anytime soon, as well as all these other routes of modalities, like naturopathic medicine, integrative medicine, functional medicine. These things, exist because, there is a need for looking at things in a different way. Conventional medicine is only like 200, give or take 200 plus, years old, right? Chinese medicine is like centuries, it's like 2,000-3,000 years old, what I'm saying? Okay. Ayurvedic medicine, Indian, yes. The Ayurvedic medicine, Indian form of Chinese medicine is about the same amount of time, so, but it's a different lens of looking at things. That doesn't make them right or wrong, not everything can be studied using the scientific method, right? But that doesn't make it, right or wrong or better or worse. To me, it's really about options, and doctors are going to be, most doctors are mostly going to be like, where's it, where's the data, where's the proof, right? You know, and from a patient's point of view, they're going to be like, okay, I want to get better, you know, no matter what, you know, no matter what the cost, you know. Others are like, let me just go. So it's just, you have your so-called array of options, and it's really about what works for you, okay, and what resonates with you at the moment. So
because you decided to invest in yourself by becoming more of a well-rounded professional in the medicine field, how has the information that you have received changed the way that you approach medicine? Because, you know, there's a saying that once you know, you do better. So do you think that because you have decided to learn more about, because you're hitting them at all levels, like your culinary, you have a Chinese medicine background, you have all these different things. How did that change your thought process with practicing medicine? And do you feel that it has improved how you deal with, you know, the space as a whole?
I'm going to answer this with an analogy. So it's kind of like a carpenter, right? And a carpenter has like a tool belt, a toolbox, right? And they have a specific project that they need to do. Let's just say, for example, build a house, right? And let's just say you want to build this house, but you don't have all the tools necessary to build this house. So how are you going to do this? Approach this project. You are going to take either a long time, you either have to be creative, or you feel like you have to find the tools necessary to be able to attack this project. So the project in this case, to answer your question, would be, how can I get a said person, or maybe a said community, okay, healthier, not just healthier in terms of physically, but also healthier emotionally, mentally, doing it in a way where it's interconnected with very, very minimum side effects or harm, because we took an oath of not harming, above all else, not harming someone. Minimal side effects, you know, not harming as many people as possible, empowering them where they can eventually learn and take care of themselves, and also be better for the planet. And so hence why I've accumulated and amassed all these different things. I kind of came into it not knowing that I was going to do it in this specific way, but knew that I needed to be as well-rounded as possible because of my beginnings, you know, because my mother showed me that, you know, there was such a vastly different way, you know, comparatively to conventional medicine, of looking at a person. And so, you know, for me, it was about acquiring as many tools that resonated with me to be able to help said, you know, patient and said community.
I want to ask you your thoughts about soy.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm asking that, and I know that was out of the left field, but I was just thinking, I really want to hear from someone who is well-rounded, because we go back and forth about how soy is bad for us, how soy is, you know, good for us. And I always tell people that, you know, the soy that's over in Asia is not the same kind of soy that we have right here. And I just wanted to, and I know you're like, girl, where did that come from? It just popped in my head. So I was just like, I have a doctor here. Let me go ahead and ask him. Yeah. And that's not even any of the questions that I did, but I just wanted to know, because you're well-rounded and you operate in our space medicinally, and also, you know, because your background is, you know, being around your mom and things of that nature. What are your thoughts about that medicinally?
So soy, as the science shows, is that it's good for us, right? I think it gets a lot of bad rep is because, you know, it's think that
the ones that we're getting here in the United States.
So it depends. So soy, corn, wheat, these are like the top 3 products that we crops, you know, that we produce in the States. And depending on how it's made, right, things could be genetically modified.
Yes.
Things could be non-organic. So the question is that how is it farmed? How is it grown, right? And where does it come from? And is it manipulated, right? And so whenever we teach from a whole food, plant-based approach, okay? We typically don't use the word vegan. There's nothing wrong with the word vegan. It tells us what you avoid, but it doesn't tell us what you actually eat. Right? You can eat a Twinkie and Oreo all day long and still call yourself a vegan, sure, right? But whole food plant-based, the definition is in the word, is in the name, right? And so when you're getting as close to Mother Nature as possible and how Mother Nature intended it to be and not, be manipulated by man, then you could safely say that, it's going to give you the most health benefits. Soy by itself, okay, I'm going to answer this in two parts. Soy by itself is good for us in many different ways, right? In terms of cancer, it actually lessens, our rates of cancer, okay? And this goes for, breast cancer for, females, and this actually goes for prostate cancer for males, right? Because, we have, it hits different receptors, okay? Breast cancer has different receptors in the breast tissue that are triggered, okay, versus soy triggers the opposite, receptor. And so it actually, quote unquote, down regulates, which means mitigates the risk of you predisposing to said cancer. And so as less processed as possible, tofu is still processed, still good, but still processed. Soybeans, edamame, ones that are not GMO and, not, are organic as possible is good. Things coming from Asia, it also depends on what country. I don't have like a good fine handle of how things are. I know that, the longest living people on Earth, ones being the Okinawans as being, one of the blue zones, longest living people on Earth, they eat a lot of soy, right? They also eat a lot of starchy vegetables as well. So it's not one thing, it's a whole, collection of things. You know what I'm saying? It's a lifestyle at the end of the day. So again, to answer your question, it depends on whether it's genetically modified, whether it's organic or not, whether it's conventionally grown, because a lot of what I'm talking about in lecturing nowadays is, conventional farming practices versus regenerative, sustainable farming practices. And the reason why I bring that up is because an apple today is not having the same nutritional profile as an apple 50 years ago. And we've lost a lot of the nutritional benefit from our soil, specifically from our conventional modern agricultural practices, because we've literally used up all the nutrition from the soil. The soil is from the nutrition is from the soil, not necessarily, from the fruit itself. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about soil health. And we are decimating our produce by farming the way we've been farming right now. So what is the answer? Because, now that we are getting smarter as far as the types of foods that we're ingesting, and now we're getting into where we're cultivating meats in, in labs and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Where do you see our lifestyle going in order for us to have optimum health? Because if you're saying that our soil is not as nutritious as it used to be, and then now people are finding ways to cultivate meat without killing animals, so eventually it's feeling like the space of us not eating animals anymore, they're fighting for us to go back to eating animals again. So what would be a happy medium for us to, I guess, live our best lifestyle if we're not getting the nutrition that we need from the vegetables? Because, everyone is shouting organic, but even if it's organic, if the soil is not nutritious, it sort of, doesn't that sort of negate the purpose? Yes. Yes and no. So basically there's many different things from that question. So number one, let's just say in an ideal world, right? You give me a wand, you say like, Dr. Colin, here's a wand. If I can grant you anything, what would it be? And that would be to understand the interconnectedness of the food on your plate and where it came from. I think there's a huge disconnect, from that, right? And unfortunately, most of the world, has a huge demand for meat. And so, majority of our land is used up for animal agriculture.
Yes.
When you hear about deforestation, when you hear about the Amazon being mowed down, when you hear about all these different things, it's really to graze animals that are eventually, going to the slaughterhouses that eventually, end up on someone's plate, right? And then you have a lot of the land, that's growing crops, corn, soybeans, different types of grains to feed said livestock. Yeah. A lot of those grains are not even used for human consumption. A lot of those crops are used for animal agriculture. So in a way, and then there's a crap load of water input that are needed. You need over 2,000 gallons of water to be able to produce 1 pound of steak. Okay, to sustain one person that lives off of a standard American diet for 1 year, you need the equivalence of 3 football fields, okay, to sustain one person. So there has been a crossroads, a threshold where the planet is not able to sustain itself, right? From this way of living, because of global warming, because of climate change, because of all these different things that you hear. And then plus, we have a growing human population. There's an estimate of the United Nations by 2050, we're going to reach 10 billion, right? So we currently have around 7.8, right?
Wow.
So it begs the question, how do you feed so many people sustainably, right? And still meet planetary boundaries and not F up Mother Nature to the brink of no return. And so, being whole food plant-based for the entire planet, I don't think that's feasible. Not that you can't get towards that in terms of logistics and operationally. It's just that there's going to be a portion of the population that's not going to be that. So transition meats, Impossible, Beyond, cultivating, lab grown stuff, all these different iterations, right? To me is really about alternative ways of catering towards the meat eater, what I'm saying? And I use it, as a way to transition. I focused on transitioning people, from eating, to eating. That's where my forte comes in. And I tell them this is transitioning, and the ultimate goal is to get towards whole food plant-based as possible. Why? Because since the 1990s, it's the only diet, okay, not keto, not paleo, the only diet proven in the scientific literature to reverse heart disease, diabetes, okay, type 2 diabetes, and early stages of prostate cancer, okay, only diet. And so, the science and evidence is already there, right? Yes. And so our job is to be able to counsel people, not just on dietary patterns, but in terms of a lifestyle, right? That can affect individual health as well as community and planetary health as possible. So you just can't make everyone happy, but I always say, if you can make the healthy choice the easy choice, then people are going to, reach towards it, right? If you have a bodega versus a Whole Foods, if you have those two options, which one would you rather go to? I'd rather go to the Whole Foods, right? But there's so many layers to that. There's food access, there's, socioeconomic, disparities, so many different things. So I think there's a lot of things in the workings right now, be interesting to see where it's going to be 3, 5, 10 years from now. But plant-based veganism has exploded, over the last 5 years, especially over the pandemic, more than not. And I think it has something to do with the fact that COVID is kind of like the unifying thread that has brought everyone, together, for better or worse. And I think people are really focused on their health now, because what if who's going to say not another pandemic is going to come down the pipe, right? So to me, it's kind of like you have to prepare yourself, right? Because it is scary, but if you look at who dies from COVID, it's people with high risk factors. Asthma, cancer, diabetes, obesity, mental health disorders, all the different things that we're already fighting, chronic disease, right? What's the top 2 killers of death? Heart disease and cancer. And it's been like that since the 50s, right? Heart disease and stroke, breaking news, CNN 2020 for the pandemic, it's always breaking news, right? But, it was like reaching breaking news was like 600K, 700K, something like that. If you combine heart disease and stroke together, it claims about 900,000 Americans every single year. That should be breaking news every single day,
Wow.
And so, but, the powers that be, people with deep pockets, these are not breaking news. No one's making a buck from it. So it's really left to us, the people on the grounds, to be able to, instill change.
Yeah. So you also have an app. Stop laughing at me because I know you're like, what is she doing? We're lit over here. We do.
I can see that. I see that. You're on the East Coast, right?
Yes.
You gotta bring some of that over here.
Yeah. We do what we want up here. We in New York. We do what we want, and that's why people love coming on the show. You're also going to be at the Vegan Women's Yes,
Summit, correct?
I'm a moderator there. I was there. I was out there in LA for it in March. It was last May. So yes.
So I'm gonna be there. So
you are?
Yeah.
You coming to New York?
I'm coming. I'm gonna cover the event. So yes, I'm gonna.
Okay, then I can show you some dope vegan spaces up here.
All right. I'm all about that.
Yes. So yes, you have an app. I have to recover from the soy question because you were looking at me like, girl, did you just ask me about some soy? And I didn't do it because you were Asian. I just wanted.
Oh, I didn't take that at all.
Okay.
That at all.
Because I know you didn't take it like that. You took it as in, girl, where did that come from? But talking about your app, because your app is something that you have just recently launched, correct?
Correct.
And it's a way for you to, I guess, be closer to the community.
Yes.
And to be able to teach them certain things and give them information by being on the ground. What went into making this app, and how can people use it for them to be a better steward of their health?
That's a great question. So thank you so much for that. So the app is called TheChefDoc. You can find that on Apple, Google Play, or your app stores. And essentially, it's kind of what we have been offering, over the years under one roof. Okay, so there is an audio course, 1 hour audio course on how to transition to whole food plant-based. There is the first 150 episodes of our podcast archived there. We have the entire masterclass series, okay, where we teach what I like to call my 5 to Thrive, and that's food as medicine, functional fitness, relationships, community, and resilience, okay? And I have over 50 plus hours interviewing my friends and colleagues on what does it take, to thrive in this life. And so that's that. And then there's a new program off of my book, Thrive Medicine. It's a 21-day challenge. So it's a video companion to the actual book. And that is really about taking your life from here to here in terms of changing, your mindset, to really achieving your goals and aspirations. A lot of positive psychology went into that. Just, what I love to do is educate and inspire and empower people, because I've been blessed and humbled to really thrive in my own life, and I really wanted to give back. And so that's currently what's there now. And there's going to be more programming coming out in this year. We're going to come out with a cooking program. We're going to come out with 2 fitness programs there. And it's very on demand. So it caters towards people that want to watch something, that want to just listen to something. There's quizzes, there's handouts, right? There's a tracking tab where you can track different things. There's a community tab where it's kind of like a private Facebook community, but without all the distractions. Right. So there's a lot of stuff. And that's for the self-motivated person. For the person that wants a little bit more guidance, we're also going to be rolling out coaching services. So you're going to have the abilities in the future to have group coaching as well as one-on-one coaching with yours truly. So it's really meant to be a one-stop app, one-stop wellness app for people. And so it's just a different way of evolving with the times, to really, help people where they're at. You know what I'm saying? So I just thought that an app would do it.
I know that you have a podcast. Have you interviewed Dr. Columbus Baptiste yet?
I have not. He's been in the game for a while.
Yes, you should talk to him. He was on my show. I've had him on the show. I think that would be good on your podcast.
Thank you. I will. If you have his contacts, I would love you.
Tell him VeganPopEats sent you. He'll do it. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because I've had him on the show, and his program, the Slave Food Project, I think that you would, and they drop that every Friday on YouTube. I think that would be a good space for you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah. So it's really about connection. I think above all else, I really value quality of relationships and really storytelling and getting to the heart of humanity as well. So it's very important for me to connect the way I've been connecting with people. So I really appreciate it for you having me on your space.
No, I was excited that you even wanted to be on there, because the reason, and I say that humbly, because I know that this is a space where people can feel comfortable, and I know that this is a space that is needed, because when you're operating in this space of telling people that they shouldn't, I like to offer solutions as into why they should. Mm-hmm. And that's the specific reason why I always ask about people's journeys. I always ask questions that you can be authentic with, because so many people have a cookie cutter way of answering questions and things of that nature. But when you're when you're wanting to operate in a space that's helping people, it's very important, and you touched on this earlier, that you meet them where they are. You talk to them in the language that they understand, because this lifestyle, and I learned this from Surviving Vegan, she was saying that the reason why people bucket so much is that it's not even really about the food, it's about them thinking about the history of it, or they're thinking about the memories that they have from this food. Mm-hmm. So it's not them saying that they don't want to, they're afraid that if they do, it's saying that what they did was wrong. And taking responsibility, I find that people see it negatively, because it sort of tells them that what they were doing up until this point was wrong, versus, I didn't know that now, but now that I know, I can be better. Yeah.
I think understanding, having a very keen awareness of yourself, right? And having a keen awareness of your own choices and how that influences other things, other people. To think that you only operate in a silo and have no effect to the outside world is very not the most wise way of thinking, because you're going to have a ripple effect. You matter at the end of the day. And to comment on what you're saying, that talks more towards like emotional and mental health. And people of color, we also have a lot of cultural, different types of upbringings, a lot of stories, a lot of family traditions, so many things are taking into account when I counsel someone, when I have them as a patient or coach them. So there's so many different things. So my experiences has really, to answer your question again, my experiences have really helped me to be just kind of grabbing different things that I need to be able to cater towards, someone with a more customized, action plan, you know what I'm saying? Or customized, to a group of people that I'm speaking to, so.
Well, I thank you so much, Dr. Colin. Do you like people to call you Dr. Colin or Dr. Zhu?
It doesn't matter. I think either is fine.
Well, I'm gonna call you Dr. Colin. Dr. Colin, thank you so much for your information. Thank you for your knowledge, and thank you so much for what you're doing for the community and for the world, because I really appreciate that you decided to invest in yourself and to be more than just a paid, I guess, puppet, if that's what you would say, because by you investing and wanting to know more of what it takes in order for someone to be healthy is fearless. And it's important, because we have so many generations that are coming to you, and they might not know the right way, but because you have invested and learned all these different ways, you're saving people's lives and saving people mental in more ways than you know.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate your words.
Yes. And I can't wait to see you in New York, because it's going to be lit.
Yes, people who don't know, it's the Vegan Women's Summit. I think it's, what is it, May?
Yeah, it's
19th?
May 18th to the 21st. It's going to be a really good time. Last year, it was only one day, but she's doing 3 days this year. And everybody who's anybody is coming to New York for this thing.
Are you gonna meet the mayor? You gonna meet the mayor? You gonna? Go
I haven't met the mayor yet, but I've been to so many of his functions up here. He shows up, I think only the cool kids get to be like, hey, Eric. But the first night is at his mansion, so I'm fearless, so it might be a possibility. Okay. I might be able to roll up on Eric.
I think you're a cool kid. Come on now. I think you can roll up in
I'm not a cool kid. I'm just a cool kid. But when I become a cool kid, you're gonna know that I'm a cool kid. All right. But it's gonna be a good time. Last year it was amazing. We had so many people there. A lot of people, like my panel was Maggie Baird, Genesis Butler, Lana Varganot. I know I said her name wrong, but they were like the major players that are dealing with climate change and things of that nature. And I think Maggie might be here again. A lot of the faces that I see that are going to be on the panels are new people that I haven't seen that weren't there last year. So it's going to be a good time. You're going to meet a lot of different people. It's
actually going to be my first event. I only heard about slivers of it, and I'm like saddened that I missed the LA, version of it. But
it'll be there again.
I fully believe in their slogan, in where the future of food is female.
Yes,
I really believe in that.
Yes. And the book is good too. Jennifer wrote the book and things of that nature. But it's going to be a good time for you. All the power players are going to be there, as far as the tech space in the food. And yeah, you'll definitely get to meet all of the different people in this space. And connection is key. Community is key. So it's gonna be lit.
Right. As long as they're cool like you. So.
Oh, I don't know if they're as cool as me. I don't know about that, but it's gonna be a good time. And then I'll probably be coming out to LA because I keep saying that I might move out there because the vegan space is so different. But I have to see, because I'm an on-air journalist, so it has to see if it's going to be worth me moving from New York, because New York is a special place.
All right. Well, you show me some spots, I'll show you some spots when you get
Absolutely. Here, so. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom, and we will see you soon. Thank you to everybody, and make sure y'all get your tickets for the event on April 26th. Y'all don't want to miss it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.